Jai Meher Baba.
Jai Meher Baba.
Today is August 18, 2023, and I'm Mehrnoosh McPherson in Meher Naameh meeting. Welcoming everybody here. We're gonna have a guest speaker, Tony Grace, and he's gonna talk about his coming to Baba, as well as tell us Mandali story, especially Aloba story.
Mainly Aloba. This talk is about Aloba.
That's right.
Ali Akbar Shapur Saban and how I started my relationship with him.
Yes. So Tony, go ahead
my name is Tony Grace. I saw Meher Baba when I was 14 years old in Hollywood. He was staying at the Roosevelt Hotel. He gave me a very deep stare, and he was very beautiful, and it was a very upscale community. Only wealthy people and middle-class people lived there, the real Hollywood stars. And so I thought, these people, Baba looked beautiful, radiant, affluent, as always. He was so beautiful, and just looked at me. And then I followed him to the Roosevelt Hotel, and I saw that there were 4 men with him. 3 of his Mandali that I don't know at that time. I'm just a 14-year-old child. And then there was an American driver. Baba was staying at the Roosevelt Hotel. I followed him, and he just looked at me, and he glanced at me, and the beauty of his eyes just penetrated through me. And years later, I came to Baba because I said to myself, I have seen those eyes of God, and those are the eyes of God. And I went on a 7-year honeymoon with Meher Baba after that.
My name is اسم من تونی گریس هست و من مهر بابا رو دفعه اول تو روزولت هتل در هالیوود دیدم. وقتی که 14 سالم بود و بابا اومده بودن تو روزولت هتل در لس آنجلس و با 4 تا مرد مانداری خودشون بودن و وقتی که بابا خیلی به من دقیق نگاه میکرد، من خیلی شگفت زده شدم و در واقع همون موقع بابا منو غافلگیر کرد و 14 سالم بود و بعد از 7 سال اومدم پیش خود بابا.
And I forgot to tell you, Baba Karaji.
بابا خدا هست. بابا خدا جی زبان گجراتی.
And yes, Gujarat. And this program is dedicated to all the people from Iran, Parsis and non-Parsis, because they have a heart of gold, and they are incredible and fantastic Baba lovers. As far as all the groups that I've ever been to, they show their love and appreciation for Aloba. When I took Aloba to California in the year of 1966, and we stayed with the Parsis. And without any further ado, here's the story of Aloba. Do you want to translate that?
بله، من تونی گریس هستم و من خیلی برای ایرانی های بابا دوست ارزش قائل هستم، چون دل اونها از طلا ساخته شده. وقتی که راجع به عشق ورزی به مهر بابا هست و من همه اونها رو دوست دارم و در سال 1966 با آلوبا علی اکبر شاهپور زمان من اومدم ایران و همشون رو دیدم.
The story begins for me, which is part a little bit of my story. I was well traveled throughout all of India. I was the first person to take Meher Baba's nephews by Mani's permission through a letter, because their dream was to go to Disney World, and I wanted to make that dream come true. That's where, and then all of us next. But I'm just giving you a little background as to why I took Oliver to the United States of America and Mexico.
بله، من آلوبا رو در یه سفری آوردم با خودم به آمریکا و همچنین به مکزیکو و قبل از اون هم دوقلوهای بابا رو به دستور مانی خانوم که خواسته بودن اونا رو آوردم به آمریکا، چون اونها خیلی دوست داشتن که از دیزنیلند دیدن بکنن و حالا راجع به سفرم با آلوبا صحبت.
So I was very much loved by all the Mandali, most especially Mehera and Mani. And here's a message for you, which I feel is from Mehera and Mani and every Bible lover that ever existed. And I had never heard that repeated to anyone else, and what Mani said about me to anyone else. Because this is for all of you.
و الان یک پیغامی رو میخوام بگم از طرف مانی خانوم و مهرا خانوم که ایشون به من گفته بودن و این برای همتونه که بشنوید.
Mehra's I'm leaving because I used to go every year to India to see Mehra, because I thought in the early 70s that if she dies, I'll never see her again, or maybe I'll die. And one day, she's giving a packet of prasad, I'm the last one on the line, she's in her veranda. And I'm walking back, all teary-eyed, and she says to me, she calls me, Tony, Baba's Nasar is on you, no doubt.
من تو 1970s اون دوره بودش که میرفتم تقریبا هر سال مسافرت میکردم به مهرآباد، چون خیلی میخواستم که مهرا خانوم رو ببینم. نگران بودم که ایشون فوت کنن و نتونم ببینمشون. و یک دفعه که نزدیک ورندای مهرا بودیم، مهرا منو صدا میکنه، میگه تونی بیا، و من اشک تو چشمام بود، ولی میرم پیش مهرا خانوم و مهرا خانوم به من میگن تونی، نظر بابا روی تو هست و این هیچ شکی روش نداشته باش. نظر مهر بابا رو توست و هیچ شکی روی این نداشته باش.
Eventually, through my influence, Khorshid Irani, Khorshid means, by the way, eternal fire, because they just call her Khorshid. So Mani comes one day after she moved to the trust office, and I got a house for Khorshid on the way to Marisol, where me and Sudem spend the nights. So Mani comes in there and she says to me one day, as I'm with Khorshid, because she went to see how Khorshid was, and she knew that I'd be with Khorshid every morning until noon. And she said to me, Tony, Baba has not 2 eyes, but 4 eyes on you.
Tony, Baba has 2 eyes.
Not 2 eyes, but 4 eyes on you.
بله. یه دفعه که من خورشید، که در واقع معنی خورشید خانوم، که یکی از ماندالی های خانم بابا بودن و همتون میشناسید، ایشون اسمشون به نام آتش جاودانه. در واقع خورشید خانوم و با پسرش صدامو رفتم یه خونه گرفتم واسه شون در راه مهرآزاد و اونجا بودیم و مانی میاد و اون خونه رو نگاه میکنه و منو نگاه میکنه و میگه که تونی، نظر بابا تنها با 2 چشم روت نیست، بلکه با 4 چشم نظر بابا روی تو هست.
I wanted to give that as an introduction to Ali Akbar Shabrussaman, otherwise known as Alaba, because Baba changed his name in the New Life because it was a strife between the Hindus and the Muslims.
و الان میخوام راجع به علی اکبر شاهپورزمان که بابا اسم آلوبا رو به اون داده صحبت بکنم. Yes.
Here's the Alaba story. I'm giving you this as a background to bring in Alaba to America, possibly Australia, and to Mexico by the invitation of Rafael Villafane to take him to Mexico. So, this one.
بله، من دارم الان یه بک‌گراندی بهتون میگم، یه پشتوانه‌ای بهتون میگم که بابا کمک کرد که تونستم آلوبا رو بیارم به آمریکا و به مکزیکو. و Did you take him to Australia too?
No, he cried
Oh, he cried.
because he didn't decide to go to Australia after the treatment that he was given in America.
میگن نه، من استرالیا نبردمشون چون گریه کرد آلوبا بعد از اون تریتمنتی که مردم تو آمریکا بهش دادن.
Well, Baba's Mandali know that I am very responsible person, that I travel throughout all of India in quite a few occasions, and I was trustworthy of them. So one day, Ero Chesawala, Mani Rani, and Bauji called me into the trust office. And no, they had a meeting outside with tables and 2 big packets like this. And they wanted to hear my advice as to why would anybody go with Aloba to America.
یه روز تو تراست آفیس که بودیم اونجا بیرون یه میزی گذاشته بودن و ایرج، باوجی و مانی منو دعوت کردن بیان سر میز و با هم صحبت بکنیم که دلیلی که تونی شما میدونی که چرا آلوبا بس بیاد به آمریکا رو برای ما بگو.
The Mandali knew way in advance that if I volunteered, it would definitely be a great journey for Alaba, because Alaba was the king of India. He was the only one of the Mandali that would travel around in the summertime through all the different places, and he loved Hamirpur the best. But he traveled to New Delhi, to Kowar, not to Kowar, excuse me, it's a name like that, but I'll think of it in a second. I tell you where, in the UP. He loved to go to Uttar Pradesh, and he was allowed to do anything, give advice to people, tell them what to do, and he was fabulous in his stores because there were miraculous stores that so many great events had transpired with Alaba through his journeys, including the one that he went to Khurramshah in Iran. Mani had given him, this is part of the story, Mani had given him some clothing, some nice clothes to make a suit. And when he arrived in Khurramshah, he was the last one that was so lost that instead of going down the passenger plank, he fell into the ocean.
Oh.
And the rescue boats have to come and get him in Iran, in Khurramshahr,
Khurramshahr.
the port of Khurramshahr.
So he was in the plane.
No,
No,
he was
he was in
on
the
a
boat.
ship, on a ship.
In the ship, and then he was so excited to come to Iran that he didn't see the step or
Well,
the railing.
no, it's after all the, I don't know what he was doing inside the boat, but all the passengers had left the ship.
Oh, all the passengers left the
But
ship.
the plank was there in the front, and there was nobody around except the captain of the ship upstairs and all of that. So he walks around the ship, and he doesn't look. He probably doesn't look, and he thinks that this is the plank, and he falls right into the ocean.
Oh my goodness, I didn't hear that story.
Well, now you heard it.
Yes. So آلوبا در واقع پادشاه هند بود و هنگامی که خیلی هوا گرم بود در هندوستان و هیچ کدوم از مانداری ها حتی مسافرت نمی کرد، آلوبا از یه شهر به یه شهر دیگر می رفت و از همه سنترها مثل سنتر همیرپور که خیلی دوست داشت دیدار میکرد و تمام سنترهایی که میرفت و تمام خونه هایی که میرفت اونجاها اصلا یک داستانهایی ساخته میشد و یک اتفاقای خیلی جالب میافتاد که در واقع مردم بیشتر از طریق آلوبا گرویدن به طرف مهربابا. و آلوبا یه داستان خیلی جالبی هم داره که وقتی اومده بود با بوت تو خرمشهر، تو خلیج خرمشهر، اونجا همه پیاده شده بودن، ایشون مثل که حواسش نبوده و اینا، بعد به جای اینکه بره تو پورت اشتباهی پاشو میذاره و میفته توی آب، میفته تو خلیج فارس که صدا میکنن مردم که یه نفر بیاد و این آلوبا رو از آب بیاره بیرون.
And prior to the meeting with Mandalay at their request, I had a dream of Alaba. And this dream was such. I don't remember the exact date or anything because I'm very good at dates or what. Alaba, she said, me and Alaba are walking together, and he says to me, Tony, I don't feel good. I feel really sick. Would you carry me? And I said, yes, Alaba. And I was a little hefty at that time, and I could pick him up, and I carried him. And we just wandered on this road. So that was the dream that I had with Alaba.
قبل از اینکه ایرج و امانی و باجی دعوت بکنن از آقای تونی گریس تو سنتر تو تراست آفیس که راجع به آلوبا صحبت بکنن که ببینن آیا این انتخاب خوبی هستش که آلوبا بیاد آمریکا یا نه، یه بحثی بکنن. ایشون شب قبلش خواب آلوبا رو میبینه که آلوبا به خوابش میاد و بهشون میگه که به تونی میگه که من خیلی ضعیف هستم، من اینقدر ضعیفم که نمیتونم حتی راه برم. آیا تو من رو به دوش خودت میکشی و منو تو این راه ببری؟ و تونی هم میگه که بله آلوبا، هیچ مسئله ای نیست و آلوبا رو بغل میگیره و تو این راه میبره و از خواب بیدار میشه.
Previously to that, to bring you up to date, because it all deals with Alaba, but there's another story how much Mara trusted me. She once told me, she says, Tony, come with me, and I want to talk to you. And she says, I want you to take Khorshid to Goa 3 times, and with some specifications. I won't go into that because this is mainly for Aloba. It just goes to show you the love that Mera would entrust Khorshid to go to Goa with me, not with anybody else.
قبل از اینکه داستان سفر آلوبا رو صحبت کنم، مهرا خانم از من خواسته بودن که خورشید خانم رو گفتن که تونی من میخوام که تو 3 مرتبه خورشید رو با خودت به گوا ببری و ایشون هم خیلی خوشحال شدن و در عین حال تعجب کردن که چطور مهرا خانوم به ایشون تراست کامل کردن که خورشید خانوم رو دست ایشون بدن، نه 1 بار نه 2 بار بلکه 3 مرتبه که ببرنشون گوا. و ایشون گفتم بله البته که این کارو میکنم مهرا خانم، no problem، مسئله نیست.
And from this point is nothing but Aloba. And Aloba's 3 or 4 months that we spent together, and this is what transpired at the meeting with Amandali. They had stacks and stacks of letters from America and Australia. And these letters contain, in the essence, they were written by Aloba, that he was coming to America and Australia. And they got to be so many of them that the Mandali didn't know what to do. So they called me up in the guise of this discussion to see if what would I reply to them.
Those were the letters from Aloba to American or Australian?
Australia.
So Aloba has written.
Announcing that he was coming to them.
آلوبا نامه های خیلی زیادی نوشته بود به دوستداران بابا در استرالیا و آمریکا که من میخوام که من دارم به آمریکا و استرالیا میایم و مانداری ها که ایرج و باوجی و مانی خانم بودن از ایشون پرسیدن که این نامه ها رو دیدی تو راجع به این چه فکری میکنی؟
So they knew I was ripe and willing and able. So after they showed me these letters, they asked me, Tony, what should we do? How is Aloba going to get to this American Australia? Who's going to take him? And my mind didn't have to think. I says, I take him.
پس مانداری ها به ایشون گفتن و میدونستن که من اون موقع پخته بودم و توانایی اونو داشتم و همچنین حاضرم بودم که آلوبا رو با خودم ببرم بیرون و اونا از من خواستن که حالا ما چه کار کنیم با آلوبا که خودش رو دعوت کرده، ما به کی میتونیم تراس بکنیم که آلوبا رو ببره و البته تونی دست خودش رو میبره بالا و میگه که من آلوبا رو میبرم با خودم.
I didn't have to think twice. At the time, there were 4 Latinos stayed below in the NPR or NPC, whatever it was called, in the year of 1986. And we call it the Latino quarters. And I saw Rafael Villafane. And I said, Rafael, I'm going to take Aloba around the States. And he replies, well, why don't you bring him to Mexico? And I'll pay for the expense of going to Mexico.
در اون زمان تو MPC لوور مهرآباد آقای رافائل از مکزیکو همونجا بودن و آقای تونی و یه سری گروه های دیگه اسپانیش هم بودن، اومده بودن زیارت بابا و آقای تونی از ایشون میپرسه که من دارم آلوبا رو میخوام بیارم آمریکا، تو چه فکر میکنی؟ و رافائل خودشون پیشنهاد میکنن که حتما به مکزیکو هم بیار و من همه مخارج آلوبا رو تقبل میکنم.
And I had told, I am sure it was Peter Booth, because the Iranians were not being issued passports out of Bombay. I mean, visas out of Bombay. So he had to go to New Delhi. And I explicitly told him that I'm taking Alaba to Mexico. So be sure to get a double entry visa so we can come back from two different countries and come back to America.
در آن زمان آلوبا البته پاسپورت ایرانی داشتن و در بامبی اور مامبی اونجا اونجا اجازه نمیدادن، ویزا نمیدادن و من به پیتر بوس گفتم که ببرتشون تو نیو دهلی و به آقای پیتر بوس گفتم که میکشور بکنه که دبل اینتری بهش بدن، چون داره میره از آمریکا بیرون میره مکزیک و دوباره که برمیگرده باید دو تا ورودیه، باید دو تا تمبر ورودیه بهش یا استمپ ورودیه بهش بزنن، مهر ورودیه دو تا بزنن، نه که بتونه دوباره برگرده به آمریکا.
At that meeting, Manny says, Tony, do you know that there's 13 stipulations that Alava should not do and what that he should do? The one that he should do is talk about Mayor Baba prior to 1969. And the one she's starting, like saying he flips a coin by chance and he flips it until it comes out his way, heads or tails, divining things to people, telling people what they should build or do or however, because he was the king of India. But we're going to two foreign countries which are different than India, and they gave me the 13 do's and the one don't. And I am report to Mani S. Irani on a weekly basis by letter as to what transpired.
مانی خانوم به تونی یه اکسپلینیشنی، یه توضیحاتی داده بودن که وقتی که آلوبا میاند به آمریکا ایشون 13 تا چیز میتونه. Is it 13 things to do and one things to not do? Or?
No, 13 things not to do and one thing to do. And the thing to do was talked about Mayor Baba prior to 1969.
Okay. به ایشون گفتن که آلوبا که وقتی میاد به آمریکا 13 تا کارو نباید بکنه که عادتشه که میکنه و فقط یک کار میتونه بکنه و اون هم راجع به مهر بابا قبل از رحلت حضرت ابیطار مهر بابا در سال 1969 میتونه راجع به مهر بابا صحبت بکنه، ولی 13 کار دیگه که مانند این که سکه بندازه بیاد پایین یا به مردم بگه چه کار بکن چه کار نکن یا آخر دنیاست یا این چیزا صحبت نکنه. Yes.
Then what transpires is that every Amartiti I would sit right in front of the Samani on Baba's tin shed and there would be hundreds of people to come and kiss and say hello to Alaba and tell them different stories that transpire in their life from the events that Alaba wanted. And for example, one day comes a lady she was bearing a child, and she asked Alaba, Alaba, could you please ask Baba to give me a child? And that lady then replies, but Alaba, I didn't have one, but I had three. And Alaba, he says, because you were destined to have three babies. And he says, Alaba, I am so happy to have three because that's what I really wanted, to have three children in my life. So through Alaba, or through his prayers, or through whatever transpired, she had what she always wanted, three children, from being barren to bearing three children. That was the magic of Alaba.
Yeah. البته آلوبا پادشاه هند بودش و چون عاشق مهر بابا بود از دستش هر کاری برمی اومد و من وقتی که زمان باهاش میگذروندم موقع امرتیتی آلوبا میستاد و همه هندی ها می اومدن و از اون سوال میکردن و غیره و یک دفعه یک خانومی اومده بود، یک خانوم جوونی و میگفتش آلوبا من بچه میخوام. بعد آلوبام بهش گفتش که هیچ نگران نباش، تو صاحب بچه میشی، هیچ نگران نباش، بابا کمک میکنه. و این خانوم دفعه بعد که میاد به مهرآباد برای امرتیتی میگه که آلوبا من آرزو داشتم 3 بچه بیارم و دعای تو موجب شده که من 3 بچه آوردم و جدا خیلی خوشحال هستم. و البته آلوبا میگه که این همش کار مهر بابا هستش و من وسیله بیشتر نیستم.
Alaba was the main instrument through a few other members of the Mangali that told Shaligram Sharma in the early 80s to tell Shaligram Sharma, which was after the Mandali, he was one of the great lovers of Meher Baba. He says, take Tony around India. And Alaba told him, you know, at my request, you take Tony Gris all over India, and you start all the way from Andhra Pradesh and take him all the way to Hamirpur district and so on and so forth, and take him all over the Baba centers in India. It was all of us. So Shaligram Sharmaji comes where we're sitting, because I would sit with him every Amartiti. I loved Alaba, really loved Alaba. I mean, it was like a dream to me to be buddy with one of Baba's men Mandali, which I was with most of them. But with Alaba, I was really close, and instead of going to listening to Erotic Talk or something, I would go to Alaba's bedroom and hear his tales of dreams and what would happen in the future, and all these beautiful dreams about Meher Baba, which I'll relate one of them to you later on. And I just loved my Alaba with my whole heart. I loved Alaba.
خود آلوبا بودش که به شلیگرام شرما گفتش که آلوبا رو به همه جا ببر، چون همه جای هندوستان رو ببر، همه سنترهای بابا رو ببر. و ایشون هم درست همین کار رو کردن و من در واقع مدیون آلوبا هستم که اینو از ایشون خواست که منو به همه سنترهای بابا در هندوستان ببره. و من خیلی آلوبا رو جدا خیلی دوست داشتم و موقع هایی که تو ماندالی هال حتی ایرج یا مانی صحبت میکردن، من دوست داشتم که برم تو اتاق آلوبا و آلوبا راجع به داستانهای بابا میگفت بشنوم و به من شربت میداد، شیرینی میداد و با هم بودیم.
Alaba confesses to me that he went to Baba Samadhi and he flipped a coin because he used to have it flipping the coin until the heads come out in his hand. Whether it was wrong or right, you know, sometimes the tails come out and all of that, but it's flipped and coins, coins, coins. Because he knew that the stipulations that the Mandali require of me, which are at the hands of Reza Sayekar and Susan Sayekar, another most fantastic Meher Baba lovers, I should say, they are real lovers of God. So they have the stipulations by their request because they just also love Alaba. Every Irani was just madly in love with Alaba until today. So he says, Tony, I flipped the coins and eventually it came heads. So, because I was asking Baba about the stipulations. And when I told him that I couldn't do this, finally come out heads when it comes, and it means I can do anything.
So you weren't sure that you can follow the speculation or the orders that Mani has given you, but then Baba...
Absolutely not. But the funny thing about it is that I try to be strict, but it didn't work. Except I got Alaba to listen to me in quite a few occasions, or many, many occasions. And the fun begins after this.
آلوبا یه دونه سکه دستش بود و میگفت به ایشون گفتش بیا از بابا میپرسیم که من برم آمریکا یا نرم. و چون ایشون تو ذهن خودشون فکر میکردن که آخه چطوری من آلوبا رو مانع بشم که کارایی که همیشه میکنه برای دوستدارانش نکنه، به خاطر اینکه یک دستوراتی رو مانی خانم داده بود و این تو دلشون بود. ولی وقتی که رفتن با آلوبا و جلوی بابا یه دونه سکه انداختن بالا، سکه سر اومد. یعنی چی؟ یعنی بابا اجازه داده که آلوبا رو با خودت ببر و هرچی هم که شد چون هد اومد، یعنی دیگه دست من نیست و اون دست مهر باباست.
There was a Baba lover that lived in New York. Her name is Susan Herb. And I had to leave India because I had to make arrangements for Alaba. And it could only be done in those days through telegrams or letters.
Okay.
And I had to communicate with the rest of the American groups to them and send a report to the Mandali and like that. And Mani asked them also to send their weekly report on Alaba's visit.
بله، یه خانومی بودن به نام سوزان هر در نیویورک و البته من میبست با ایشون تلگرام میکردم و تمام مسافرت آلوبا رو با ایشون و با دوستای دیگه در آمریکا برنامه ریزی میکرد.
Now, at the Baba Center, Elizabeth Patterson, Kitty Davy, and Jane Haynes, they're expecting Alaba to come straight from New York. So they get their people that did the cooking and make this sumptuous, beautiful meal because Alaba was supposed to arrive at noon in the U.S. And they had the table set up and everything that they did to greet Alaba and welcome Alaba. and Alaba would have to stay in my house
In Myrtle Beach, you
in
talking?
Myrtle Beach, South Carolina.
Okay, and then you had a house.
Yeah,
Okay, so what year was that?
1986.
1986. Okay. در سال 1986 البته آلوبا قرار بود که بیان تو مرتل بیچ و اومدن و سنتر مهر اسپریچوال سنتر هم آماده شدن برای اینها و اون موقع کیتی دیوی was Elizabeth Patterson alive then? Or,
Yes, she was alive.
Or in 1986?
Yes.
Okay.
And Jane
I'm not
Haynes.
sure about that. Jane Haynes, I'm sure that she was
Yeah.
alive.
No,
in
Elizabeth
19
was alive. I can
Oh.
guarantee you that.
Okay. And anyway, the Meher Spiritual Center and all the ladies, Western Mandali in Meher Center, they were also present and they were preparing. But then they put it, ببخشید من دارم فارس ببخشید من دارم انگلیسی صحبت میکنم. در سنتر مهر بابا هم همه آماده شده بودن که بیان و فقط یه دونه چیزو خواسته بودن که آلوبا با آقای تونی گریس خواهد موند، در خونه ایشون خواهند بود و ایشون میتونن بیارنشون سنتر.
So I made an announcement to the community that Alaba is coming today. And we all, like typical, whenever a Mandalay arrived, there were people at the airport to greet him. And so there used to be a little airport, not the international airport of today, because it belonged to the Air Force at that time. And but flights were allowed. And so there's 100 people at least waiting for Alaba, and the plane lands, and there's no Alaba.
Oh no.
This is where the fun begins.
Okay. میگه وقتی که آلوبا قرار بودش که بیان در مرتل بیچ، فرودگاه مرتل بیچ اون موقع کوچیک بودش و البته دست ایرفورس هم بود و ماها همه بابا دوستا خیلی ها بودیم، رفتیم اونجا جمع شدیم که آلوبا رو ببینیم. چیز اومد، هواپیما نشست، ولی هرچی میگشتیم آلوبا ازش خبری نبود.
Now I have to report to Kitty, Elizabeth, and Jane that there is no Alaba.
و این که اتفاق افتاد من حالا باز ریپورت میدادم به کیتی و جین هینز که آلوبا اونجا نیستش، هنوز نیومدن.
What happened was this, that Alaba was a very free-spirited man and used to have in his way with other people but the Mandalay. And Susan her asked him to spend the night in New York.
Oh.
And she took him shopping because it was very cold in New York and bought him a beautiful, very expensive Saks Avenue leather jacket.
Okay. So they get distracted from coming to Myrtle Beach, huh?
Yeah. You know, we keep laughing when I keep going.
پس چیزی که اتفاق افتاد وقتی که آلوبا اومد نیویورک، خانم سوزان هر ایشونو دعوت کردن، زمستونم بود، گفت بیایید بریم تو ساکس اوینیو تو نیویورک و برای ایشون گردش کردن و اینا و یه دونه کاپشن چرمم براشون خریده بودن.
So eventually they did have the dinner with Kitty, Elizabeth, and Jane. But I'm in the spot.
Did he come later? So he
Yes, the next day.
Oh, the next day.
The next day.
Okay, پس سفرشون افتاد به روز بعد. Was that because they missed the plane or
No,
they were
because Susan her requested him to spend the night.
اوکی. بله، برای اینکه خانم سوزان هر از آلوبا گفتش که امشب بیا بمون و آلوبام که البته you know, he followed his heart, you know, whenever they asked him he would go because it was of love for God. So به خاطر اینکه آلوبا در واقع دلش رو دنبال کرد و یک شب پیش خانم سوزان هر موند و اینجا مرتل بیچی ها همه اومدن و صف بستن و هواپیما اومد و هیچ اتفاقی هم نیفتاد، ولی روز بعدش آلوبا اومد. یک شب نیویورک، آلوبا اونجا موندش.
So anyhow, Alaba was very free, as he used to be in the 3 months that he was allowed to leave Mara's house. He was free as the wind.
Oh, bad.
I mean, even freer than the wind. You know, it could be a hurricane coming by, and it could be Alaba.
بله. Go ahead, continue.
So, after the dinner and the satisfaction to the explanation, we're at the airport. And there's, like I said, at least 100 Bible people. There were maybe more. I just didn't sit there and count people. We could feel Baba's presence way from a distance. As whenever the Mandali came, you could always feel him at the airport. Feel that. You experienced that to yourself many a time. Mm-hmm. And everything straightened out. And as soon as he gets off the plane, he greets me, Tony Grace! That's what he called me, Tony Grace! Yes, Alaba. He says, that boy has got a very light jacket, and this jacket is too heavy for me. Tell him to give me that jacket on exchange jackets. It's a plastic $5 jacket.
Oh, that you had?
No, that some boy had.
Oh, a boy, okay.
And Alaba gives him the leather jacket.
Oh, because his was heavy, he didn't like it.
Because it was not cold in Myrtle Beach.
Okay, so the next روز بعدی که میاد آلوبا حدود 100 نفر بابا دوستا جمع شده بودن توی فرودگاه مرتل بیچ و همه مشتاق دیدار بودن و همینطور که هواپیما داشت نزدیک میشد همه احساس میکردن حضور بابام داشت قویتر و قویتر میشد و وقتی که آلوبا اومد از در تو از در هواپیما اومد و بیرون و آقای تونی گریس اونجا بودن و اولین چیزی که گفت تونی گریس کجاست؟ این تونی گریس کجاست؟ و البته ایشون رفتن و ایشون رو ملاقات کردن. آلوبا اون کت چرمی تنشون بود، یک پسر جوونی اونجا بودش ما بین بابا دوستا و بهش به تونی گریس میگه که این کت منو بدید به اون پسر و اون ژاکت پلاستیکیشو به من بدید چون اینجا خیلی گرمه، من این کت خیلی برام سنگینه و نمیخوام. و ایشون همه تعجب کردن که چطور آلوبا یک کت چرمی خیلی قیمت با اسم و رسم و اینا رو داره میده همینطور به یه پسر بچه و اون رینکوت یا اون چیز کاپشان یا اون کت پلاستیکیشو داره از اون بچه میگیره، از اون پسر بچه میگیره.
And forgive me, I made a mistake because Elizabeth Patterson passed away in 1980.
Yes.
And Dean just gave me the message.
Yes.
So it was Kitty David and Jane Haynes.
و میخوام معذرت خواهی کنم اینجا خانم الیزابت پترسون در سال 1980 فوت کرده بودن و در آن زمان در سال 1986 خانم های کیدی دیوی و جین هینز بودند.
And Kitty and Davy, I had and Jane, I had a great relationship. She was the godmother to my daughter, and but I won't go into what they did together. Well, Kitty and Jane used to come on Mondays to my house, and when I was married to Sandra Grace, and she would drink a bottle of champagne with Sandra, and Kitty would like to update me on the news of the center and watch television, especially the news.
خانم کیتی دیوی می اومدن منزل و از ایشون و دخترشون و خانومشون در اون موقع دیدن میکردن و با هم تلویزیون میدیدن و شامپاین میخوردن و ایشون مادر دخترشون هم بودن.
And from this point on, I won't deviate. It's all about Ali Akbar Shah Porcelain. I won't go change directions in any way. That's I warned Dean if I do something or mess up, to let me know.
بله. از این زمان به بعد من همش راجع به علی اکبر شاه پورزمان صحبت میکنم و راجع به کس دیگه صحبت نمیکنم.
So finally I have Alaba. So he instructs me to be sure that he goes to bed by 10 p.m. and he wakes up at 6 a.m. and make him his perfect cup of tea, which I have practiced already on how to make a good cup of tea. And so did Sandra Gris. We made him his delicious tea, but I was to stand by the door and make him his tea. But what transpired was this, that was more fun than anything. Alaba kind of hadn't taken a shower for 3 or 4 days. And so when I look at his clothes, he used to wear that same suit all the time.
Brown color?
Yeah, and he would go like this because one time he sprained his arm,
yes.
And it became the habit of his life.
Oh.
Because the doctor gave him a little ball to strengthen the wrist, so Alaba would always be going like this.
Oh,
remember that?
Yeah, I remember that he used to do that.
From spraining his arm.
Okay.
His hand.
Yes.
So that was a habit. Nobody knew about it, but
Yeah.
but some people did,
Yeah.
So it was just a habit of Alaba. But what happens to the clothes? All of a sudden I find out that he'd been wearing that same suit for years without cleaning it or washing it
Okay.
or sending it to the cleaners.
Bad.
So then I get suspicious and I said, Alaba, here's a beautiful pair of clean pajamas for you. You should sleep in my pajamas. Please take my pajamas. Because, I like to wash your clothes in case you've been traveling around and maybe they're uncomfortable for you and this and that. Well, I give him my pajamas and happily he hands me his clothes. And boy, they were stinking, smelly of sweat and God knows
No, it
what
wasn't
else.
a stinky. I never.
No, because he wore his suit.
Oh, the suit. Oh.
That covered that up. So we wash the suit and it comes out a different color. On Baba's name, I'm telling you the truth. And then all his clothes were sparking clean. And poor Sandra Grace is so light ironing his clothes and this and that and the other, and doing things. And then if people wanted to listen to Alaba, we would go to the Baba Center. But at the time, people just came to my house throughout the whole day to meet and greet Alaba. And I had to be sure I had to stand by the door as a guardsman, that from 2 to 4 that nobody would disturb him because he would take his nap, unless, as specified by him, it was an emergency. But there were no emergencies. I just told everybody, you can't see Alaba, please go out in the garden, stay there or don't come back. All of us not seeing anybody till 4 o'clock.
اوکی. وقتی که آلوبا اومدن البته پیش ایشون مونده بودن و خانومشون در آن زمان خانوم ساندرا گریس بودن که خیلی کمک کردن و آلوبا دستورات خودش رو داشت. یکی از دستوراتش این بودش که ساعت 10 شب میخوابید، ساعت 6 صبح پا میشد و 2 ساعت هم ما بین ساعت 2 بعد از ظهر و 4 بعد از ظهر استراحت در اتاقشون میخوابیدن، استراحت میکردن و در این زمان 2 ساعت هیچ کسی نمیبست میومد و میدیدشون. بابا دوستا البته بیشتر می اومدن خونه من و که آلوبا رو ببینن، ولی هنگامی که ما بین 2 و 4 می اومدن من اونجا مثل یک پاسبان بودم، دم در ایستاده بودم و اجازه نمیدادم که هیچکی بیاد. میگفتم که الان موقع استراحت آلوبا هستش، مزاحم نشید و ساعت 4 بیاید. و همینطور آلوبا یه دونه کتی داشتش که همینطور هر سال همیشه اونو میپوشید روی لباساش، روی پیرهنش. و یک عادتی که آلوبا داشت این بودش که هی دستشو اینطوری میکرد، جمع و بسته میکرد و اینا. و اینم به خاطر این بودش که یکی از پزشکا بهش یه دونه بال داده بود، گفته بودش که تو دستتو برای اینکه نرمش بدی این توپه رو اینطوری بکن، بازو بسته بکن. و این عادت کرده بود و 2 تا دستشو با کتش اینطوری میکرد. البته اینم حتما شما توجه کردید، ولی دلیلش این بوده که در واقع آلوبا داشته نرمش میداده دستاشو. بعد این کتش من متوجه شدم که اصلا تمیز نیسته، شسته نشده، ممکنه که برای چندین سال شسته نشده. من به آلوبا یک پیرهن خودم، پیژامه خودم رو دادم، خیلی تمیز نو، و گفتم که آلوبا شما این رو بپوشید و لباستون رو در بیارید و تا من بشورم و اینا. آلوبا هم لباسش، کتش و لباسش و همه اینا رو دادن و خانومشون همه اینا رو لاندری کردن و اتو زدن. و بعد از اینکه لباس شسته شد اصلا رنگ کت آلوبا هم حتی عوض شده بود، رنگش روشن‌تر شده بود و عوض شده بود.
Anyhow, the whole week passes by very successfully, except that I didn't know if my work was finished because I didn't know that there was a group in Colorado. I had never heard of a group in Colorado run by a beautiful lady and a pianist. His name was, she lives in Nashville. I'll think of her name and just then tell you who it is. And so I contacted Winnie Barrett. Winnie Barrett at the time was living in Colorado. Mm-hmm. And there was a big Baba group in Colorado that I was not aware of.
بله، در اون زمان یک گروه بزرگی در کلرادو بود در آمریکا که خانومی به نام وینی باروت که پیانوست بودن، میوزیشن بود، اون گروه رو در واقع راهنمایی میکرد.
And also I had to arrange for the Sufis because the Sufi, I'll think of his name, it wasn't that lady anymore because I saw her many times, Ivy Deuce. It was another guy that took over, but I'll think of his name in a minute. Because, sometimes I can't think of too many things. To arrange a visit to the Sufi Center in San Francisco for Aloma. And they were thrilled to death because the Sufis were not part of the equation. as far as I was concerned. So now he's gonna go to San Francisco. And I inform, I'm not gonna remember the name of this guy in a minute, Makaya.
Makai.
Yeah.
Murshid Makai.
Murshid Makaya. Which I had to take around Pune for 2 weeks with Baba's nephews. What a trip, 2 buses full of Sufis, and we're in charge of them and they stay at the Blue Diamond, but this is about Alaba, I'm sorry.
Yes, we're talking about Alaba.
So anyhow, next destination is coming to Chapel Hill, North Carolina.
So first from Colorado, and then you went to
No. This is what I gotta arrange why I can't go to North Carolina with Alma. So I called Kenny Coleman. Kenny Coleman at the time was living, he did accounting, he was a great performer. He was really agile and he walked in his hands around the samadhi and do dumb things like that, but to him were okay. And it was really acceptable by everyone. Everybody loved to watch Kenny Coleman. He was a really fabulous guy. So, and Kenny hauls them off. And for about 4 days there, 4 or 5 days.
پس آقای تونی آلوبا رو بردن به کارولینای شمالی و پیش یه آقایی به نام تونی کولمن.
کنی کولمن.
کنی کولمن بودن و ایشون از آلوبا و آقای تونی در منزلشون نگهداری کردن.
And what Kenny does, this is the video age, the beginning of the videos in 1986. He decides to, along with a model group, they decide to make a videotape of Alaba. So they make a videotape of Alaba on a 2-hour talk.
آقای کنی کولمن. آقای کنی کولمن در سال 1986 اون موقع همون اوایلی بودش که ویدیو گرفتن مد شده بود و ایشون برای 2 ساعت از آلوبا وقتی که صحبت میکرد ویدیو گرفت.
And they presented the videos to Alaba. Alaba fell in love with himself, watching himself on the television set. Alaba really liked it. So for the rest of the program in Chapel Hill, he says to the crowd, now you have heard me before, now look at me on TV. So Alaba would sit there with his feet propped up like this, watching his videotape instead of giving programs, and everybody's watching the TV all the way in Durham and Chapel Hill and the Tri-City and Raleigh and all this stuff, all the Bible lovers there, especially the Alvarados. Oh, Alaba just watching himself. Oh, he fell in love with his videotapes and they gave him a couple
Alaba made it easy for himself, so he doesn't have to repeat his own stories. So این ویدیویی که درست کرده بودن در نورت کارولاینا بودش و بعد از اون وقتی که آلوبا به چپل هیلز و دورم مسافرت میکنه و بابا دوستا همه اونجا جمع میشن، آلوبا میگه که ویدیو رو بذارید واسه‌شون و وقتی که این ویدیو رو میذارن آلوبا رو میشینه و پاهاشو بلند میکنه و میگه پس ببینید وقتی این ویدیو رو دیدید دیگه این همه داستانای منم تو همین هستش و ایشون خنده میکنه که اون موقع به هر حال آلوبا خودش داستاناشو در واقع تکرار نمی کرده بلکه فقط توسط ویدیو میذاشته، میگفته که بیایید ببینید.
So at the time, Being with Alaba was comedy personified, and I got to report to money for the week. So I always write, like Eric said, don't let the truth get in the way of a good story. So I just write beautiful, wonderful things that are transpiring, and that Allah is obeying the 13 do's and the one don't, or the vice versa, and he's doing a spectacular job, and he's got the American public, Bible lovers, all dazzled by his being there and bringing with him the presence of our beloved God, Mayor Baba. Only God can do that, and that God is Mayor Baba.
و چون مانی خانوم بهشون گفته بود که هر هفته هر کاری که آلوبا میکنه واسه من بنویس، رپورت بده، و البته داستان اینه که وقتی که یک داستان خیلی خوبی داره اتفاق میفته نباید آدم کلمات هر درست و بجا رو توش بذاره داستان ادامه پیدا بکنه، و اینه که هیچ جزئیات سفر آلوبا رو به ننوشتن، بلکه نوشتن که همه چیز همونطوری که حضرت مهربابا ابتار مهربابا میخواسته داشته پیش میرفته و همه چیز اینجا خیلی خوبه و آلوبا مردم جمع میشن، و در واقع همین هم بوده و همه از داستانهای آلوبا استفاده میکنن.
And so where is our next stop? Tampa, Florida, at Chac and Bonita Hill, Bible lovers. And along with this couple that have been asking all these questions about Mayor Baba, they're big Baba singers now. They got their seat, the Zimmermans, or the whatever their names are, right? A man and a woman. That when I used to go visit the Florida group, they always ask me, is it true that Mayor Baba's God, and this and that and the other, and that? They were not convinced. And here's where the miracles begin with Allah, because he had Baba's magic touch, no doubt.
بله. بعد ایشون آلوبا رو میبرن تمپا فلوریدا، و البته یه سری خب بابا دوست بودن، بابا اعتقاد داشتن، و چند نفر هم هنوز دوستدار حقیقی نشده بودن و سوالای خیلی زیادی داشتن، و اینجا بودش که آلوبا در واقع اون رول خودش رو اجرا میکنه.
And as you know well, that Aluba would never send you a postcard. It was with cats, because he loved cats.
بله. آلوبا همونطوری که میدونید گربه خیلی دوست داشته و هر پستکارتی که واسهتون میفرستاده همیشه یه عکس گربه هم توش بوده.
And so Chuck and Juanita, he'll come along with the two singers. I'll give you the name next week, okay? Because I got every Bible CD that there is.
Chuck and Anita.
Chuck and Juanita Hill.
Chuck and Juanita Hill. Back.
And so, well, besides Disney World and Busch Gardens and all of that, I got to tell you some more stories in between. Remember Busch Gardens and that, please, because too many things transpire. So anyhow, everybody's there. But what happened to the singers, the wife and the man? I'll remember their name before the show is over. I'll ask my subconscious mind. Alaba only did to Chuck and Juanita Hill was say meow, 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 and the couple fell in love with Alaba. And they became Baba lovers when by the time they arrived in Chapel Hill, they had no question that Mayor Baba was gone
Yeah. این
by his meows.
بله این خانم و آقای چاک و وانیتا هیل خب خیلی سوال داشتن ابتدا، ولی خب آلوبا با اون چارمینگی که خودش داشت همش میاو 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 میکرد و اونها
And he talked about
خیلی
meow, and he talked about cats.
تحت تاثیر قرار گرفتن به خاطر اون عشقی که آلوبا به گربه داشت و با اون اومدن چپل هیلز و اینطوری بابا دوست شدن توسط عشق آلوبا
I
به
better
گربه.
get up for this one. Let's see how-
Oh, you have to get up?
Yeah, let me get to the microphone because this is where the fun begins.
Okay.
Oh, you just grab it. In
It's
any
a-
case, we're at Chaca Bonita Hills. And I'm supposed to stand by at the same hours for 2 hours.
Excuse me, Chris, can you check that this says your battery is running low? So I just wonder if the electricity is on here. So, sorry about that. Sorry about interrupt. I don't know. Because I'm recording. Is it something on it? Oh, okay. Thank you. No, it's on.
I'm not sure.
Okay, we don't know. All right, something. Sorry about that. Go ahead. We
No,
just
that's
wanted
okay.
working on.
So
my
anyhow, I'm supposed to be on guard for, as usual, so he could take a snap, unless there was an emergency. And I followed whatever I could the Mandalay told me. Here is the miracle of all miracles. It is impossible, but Bob is my witness that I'm telling the truth because this doesn't happen to anybody in ordinary life.
بله. میگه یه اتفاقی افتاد که اصلا معمولی نیستش.
Is one of that ready for me?
بله, I'm ready. Yes.
So we're at Chaco Bonita Hills. I'm staying there, keeping guard, getting ready to have his tea ready, which somebody else did the tea. And there comes a girl named Susan. And she goes, she's not a marijuana lover, but she heard from Chaco Bonita that there was somebody coming from India that was a great lover of Meher Baba, and he was considered one of his disciples.
Which town was that? In Chapel Hills?
No, in Tampa, Florida.
بله, این در تامپا فلوریدا یکی از دوستای خانم و آقای چاک اونجا اومدن و اسمشون سوزان بودش این خانم و این سوزان شنیده بودش که یکی از عاشقان مهر بابا اومده تامپا و میخواستن از ایشون دیدن کنن.
So Susan comes running in into Chaco Juanita because she's desperate. And she says, I want to talk to Mr. Alaba because they said he's the Godman's or Meher Baba's disciple. So Chaco and Juanita gave me the message. And I said, Alaba, there's someone here to see you. Would you like to keep taking your nap? Or should she come in and see you? Because she can wait. And Alaba says, tell her to come into my room. In a very gentle tone. Okay? I'm just talking harsh, but Alaba was very gentle about it.
این خانم سوزان وقتی که میرن اونجا ما بین ساعت 2 تا 4 بوده و آلوبا داشتن استراحت میکردن و ایشون میرن از آلوبا میپرسن که آیا این خانم بیاد یا نه، چون شنیده که شما از دوستدار مهربابا هستید، از هند اومدید و خیلی مشتاقه که شما رو ببینه و آلوبا میگه که بگو بیاد.
Then what transpired was this. I hear Alaba from his room saying, Tony Grace! Tell Chuck to get the car immediately. Okay? So we were ready to go. And what transpired was that this lady, she was in the real estate business, and the business at that time, there was a depression and people buying real estate, number one. Number two was that they were getting ready to repossess her house because she's not paying for her mortgage. Number three, that she had a beach cottage and she had not been paying by these people for 6 months, I believe it was 6 months, and she had no money left on her own, maybe some dollars or something like that. And this, to Alaba, was considered a very critical thing in her life. So he says, take us to the Susan's house. And Alaba asked her, are you a Bible lover? And he says, no, I am not. I says, okay, we'll see what we can do. So we walk into the house, and Alaba had, at the time they had it, having a crayon, a marker, a marker, you know, that you mark.
Oh yes, marker, yeah.
And he walks and he looks into the house and this and that, and he used to tell people what to do at night, or you go into the bedroom and repeat Baba's name 100 times. That was one of the don'ts. Okay? And do this and do that and all of that. And he says, no wonder everything's happened to you, because there is no light in this house. So he picks up a wall and gets a big cross like this with a marker pen. And then he says, you have a picture of Mary Baba here by tomorrow. Get it wherever you can, and the hills have plenty of them. And you put it out there, and then the light would shine in your house.
این خانم سوزان میان و 3 تا مسئله خیلی بزرگ داشتن. ایشون خودشون تو کار ریل استیت بودن اون زمان، ولی رکود بود در معامله و خرید و فروش خونه. اینه که چندین وقت بود که درآمد نداشته بود و همینطور خونه خودش هم پول نداشتش که پول وامش رو هر ماه بده و 6 ماه بود که گذشته بود و you know, this one went off. I think you want to see if it's hooked up. I think the battery is sorry. و همچنین یه اتفاق دیگه ای هم که افتاده بود، یه کاتجی داشتش که اینو اجاره داده بود و اون کسی هم که تو این کاتج نشسته بود هم حتی yes, it just went off. I think it says battery off and finished. So for some reason it's not hooked up to electricity. و اون کاتج هم مستاجری که داشت پولشو نداده بود واسه 6 ماه و در واقع آلوبا حس کردش که این موقعیت این خانوم در واقع خیلی کریتیکاله از لحاظ مادی و باید کاری بکنه و همونجا بهش میگه سوار ماشینم بکنید، من میخوام برم خونه ایشون و منو ببر اونجا. و وقتی هم که سوار ماشین بودن از خانوم میپرسه آیا شما با دوستدار مهربابا هستی؟ خانومه میگه که نه، من دوستدار مهربابا نیستم، ولی راجع به شما شنیدم و اینا. بعد آلوبا و تونی گریس در تعدادی اونجا میرن و در واقع چیزی که میشه یک ببخشید you know, my sister want to say that we are disconnected, so that's fine.
So your electric is on now, but now
Just something went
you
off.
have to reboot and everything.
Okay,
Yeah.
no problem.
Do you have any coffee?
I'll make you some.
You can sit down. He's going to bring
Okay.
coffee. Yes.
Yeah, I was
So
gonna say.
what happened? پس چیزی که اتفاق میفته اینه که میرن تو خونه این خانوم و آلوبا وقتی که خونه رو میبینه میگه که اصلا خونه نور نداره و همونجا یک علامتی میزنه روی دیوار و میگه که همینجا یه عکس مهر بابا بزن که نور بیاد در خونت و همین کار رو اونجا میکنن، برمیدارن و عکس بابا رو میزنن و میگه که مهر بابا نور خونه تو هست و نور آورده تو خونت. واسه همینه که اینقدر از لحاظ مادی وضعت خراب شده، نور نداره خونت.
So do you want cream and sugar?
No, just black.
Sorry.
We underestimate the Mandali because they're not like us. These people were the disciples of the God-man, and Baba works magically through them. And here's an example that you should never forget.
و در واقع ماندالی های بابا توسط ماندالی های خودش تو این دنیا کار میکرده و این یه مثالی هستش که شما هرگز نباید فراموش کنید.
About 3 o'clock in the afternoon the following day, the woman comes running in into Chuck and Juanita Hill's house. And says, I want to see Alibi immediately. Well, Alibi's out there with other Bible lovers, but this is Susan. So I says, Alibi, Susan wants to see you. Immediately shies everybody away. He says, what happened? Oh, and Baba told her to take a card of her Baba, a stack of cards, and put her on her bed pillow and take Baba's name 300 times.
و آلوبا به این خانم سوزان گفته بوده که یک کارت بابا رو زیر متکاش بذاره و اسم بابا رو برای 300 دفعه تکرار کنه.
That was another one of the dumps. I'm beginning to remember them.
بله و این یه چیز دیگه بود که آلوبا از این خانم خواسته بودن و من تازه شروع کردم به یاد آوردن.
Do you have a regular cup instead of plastic?
This is also a coffee cup, but if you want regular, this is made for hot coffee. Hot.
I don't like it hot.
Okay. Yes. Then what happened?
Then what happens is that the girl comes running in at 3 o'clock, and she.
Next day.
The next day.
The next
then
day.
you don't have to wait.
But
The next day she comes running in, and he says, I sold my first property. Thank you.
let's just tell them that. Hi, Golnaz John. I think what has happened, the battery of my laptop is finished, and we couldn't basically turn it on to electricity. So you are out of luck. But the good news is everything is being recorded here at Circle of Friends, and it's going to be on Zoom, and everybody's welcome to see, and I'm going to continue translating in Farsi. Thank you very much. Jai Baba Dari. Okay. Golnaz has some question about your trip to Mexico.
It's coming.
It's coming. It's coming.
Don't
What
worry
I
about
can
it.
do, I can have my cell phone on, and you welcome to listen. Okay.
Everything
Okay,
is
thank
coming
you.
on a sequence. That's it happened.
Yes.
So the lady comes running in. She sells a property the
Yes.
next day. So she goes to her bank and he says, I sold a huge property cash-wise and I'm getting paid with cash. So you no longer can repossess my house. Here's your payment.
Oh, wow.
Number one. Number two, the people that had not paid the rent on their cottage came the same day after we left and paid her the cash that they owed her.
Oh, my God.
And what was number three?
And
Dean, did you keep up with number three?
number 3 was the cottage, the loan, his business. Oh, he bought his own house. Actually, I think this is it, because she sold the place, so she had money to pay the mortgage, and the tenant came. Her tenant came and paid the cash. So it was like 1, 2, 3.
And only God can do that. And
Yeah.
that God is Meher Baba.
Yes, and that's all happened within 24
24 hours.
Wow.
You can check it with Chuck and Juanita Hills.
Yeah. پس اتفاقی که اینجا افتاد برای خانم سوزان این بودش که یک ریل استیت دیلی داشته که به طور ماجیکی آفر کش میگیره و میفروشه و میتونه اون پول مورگج خونه خودش رو بده و همینطور اون تننتی هم که تو خونش مجانی نشسته بود میان همون روز که آلوبا اومده بود تمام پول و کش میارن دستش میدن و اینطوری مهر بابا کار میکنه توسط ماندالیاش با عاشقان خدا یا اونها.
And my mind is blown already, you know, I'm totally more blown because this happened within 24 hours from getting on the car with Oliver with his people and going meow, meow, meow and doing this and doing that and the other and everything really happened.
بله من خیلی در تعجب هستم که طوری که بابا کار میکنه اینه که اصلا در 24 ساعت چه اون یه خانوم غریبه‌ای که هیچی اطلاع نداشته از آلوبا و مهر بابا میاد و بابا اینطوری کمکش میکنه و همه مسائلش سر 24 ساعت حل میشه.
And then Alaba was having a ball. We took him to Disney World, and at that time they were filming that one of the films about what was the name? The name of those films that they did a sequence of them by Ford. You know, like the skeletons or the mines or this or that.
Kind of Halloween movie?
No, there was a whole sequence of the great hero.
Harrison Ford.
Harrison
Oh,
Ford.
Raiders
yeah.
of the Lost Ark.
So they were filming Harrison
Indiana
Ford
Jones.
in Disney World.
Indiana Jones.
Oh, wow.
We had quite a few.
And it was the scene where there was Harrison Ford was in a German airplane and this and that and the other, you know, and all of that, and we're taking him through all the rides and everything else. And all of us just having the time of his life, you know.
Yeah.
And then we took him to Busch Gardens, which is where it's called Busch Gardens because they're gardens, you know, for the Busch company and all of that.
Disney World in Tampa, Florida, sure.
Yeah, and Busch Gardens both. Now it's time for us to leave. And again, we get a big crowd at the airport saying goodbye. We are headed towards Mexico. And the Iranian passport is a big brown Iranian. I don't know if they're still the same way or not.
I think they changed it now to blue for some reason,
But it's big.
bluish black. But before it was brown,
Brown,
big and brown.
big-
I
big and
remember.
brown.
Yes.
Okay. So then, just before departing, Alba didn't like anybody to smoke because it was toxic for him. So before I go check into the counter, and the person behind the counter tells me, Mr. Gris, do you know that if you go with Mr. Shapursaman into Mexico, he has only a one entry visa into Mexico? Because Peter Booth or whoever got that visa didn't do the job and got him a double entry visa. So he cannot come back from Mexico.
وقتی که ایشون رفته بودن ایرپورت که ببرنشون به مکزیکو، اون آقایی که پاسپورت ایرانی آلوبا رو چک میکرد به آقای تونی گریس میگه که آیا میدونی که ایشون دبل اینتری یا بازگشت دوباره به آمریکا رو ندارن و برای همینه که ممکنه اصلا دیگه به آمریکا نتونن برگردن. Okay.
This is an hour before the departing flight because you're supposed to check in early and the flight departs a half hour later. So what am I going to do? I have to think all the programs are going to be canceled if I take Alaba to Mexico, and what am I going to do there, you know? Should I just cancel Mexico? So I run to the nearest place and buy me a whole box of Tarleton cigarettes, put them in a bag, and I go to the bathroom, you know, and I begin to change, smoke like crazy.
Oh, because you were under stress.
The stress and strain of it.
Wow. پس این اتفاق یه ساعت قبل از اینکه هواپیما فرودگاه رو ترک کنه به سمت مکزیک اتفاق میفته و ایشون اینقدر زیر استرس بودن. آلوبا گفته بودش که من نمیخوام کسی با من سیگار بکشه یا با من باشه یا بوی سیگار بده. ولی آقای تونی گریس اصلا نمیدونست که چه کار بکنه، یعنی اینکه ایشونو میبره مکزیک چه ریخته دوباره برگردونه بیارتش آمریکا، چون این دبل اینتری به کشور آمریکا نداشتن و ناراحت میشه یا انکشس میشه و میره یه دونه بگ بزرگ سیگار میگیره و میره توی توالت شروع میکنه سیگار کشیدن، پشت سیگار کشیدن که خب حالا چه کار بکنه، مسئولیت رو گردن اونه و حالا که داره میبرتش مکزیک این چه ریختی آلوبا برگرده به آمریکا. Yes.
And then I'm in the bathroom smoking. Cigarette after cigarette, thinking what to do, and talking to Baba and this and that. And it says, Baba, I finally said, Baba, you're the Lord of the universe, and you said that you can do anything, you know. So what should I do? But you know, and I don't get a response, of course, you know. And I decided, well, I'm going to take Alaba, but I don't trust that we're going to come back from India. Why is that? Because I don't trust Mayor Baba completely.
ایشون خودشون رو سرزنش میکنه، میگه که من چون به بابا 100% تراس نکردم، شروع کردم با بابا حرف زدن که بابا این ترس من همه اینا به خاطر اینه که حالا در این موقعیت افتادم و من برم اونجا چه ریختی میتونم بیام برگردونم آلوبا رو اینجا، ولی اون موقع نمیدونستم، ولی حالا میدونم که من 100% به بابا در اون زمان تراس نکرده بودم. Yes.
And anyhow, I boarded the airplane with Alaba headed towards Mexico City, where there's only Rafael Villafani as a Baba lover and Arsenio Rodriguez that work for the United Nations.
وقتی که آلوبا رو میبرم ایرپورت 2 نفر اونجا بودن، آقای رافائل که بابا دوست هستن و آقای
Arsenio Rodriguez.
Sure,
He lives here
Arsenio
now.
Rodriguez, yeah. He's living here, no?
Yes.
Of course, Arsenio Rodriguez اونجا بودن. بله.
He worked for the United Nations in Mexico City.
و ایشون کار میکردن برای سازمان ملل در در شهر مکسیکو سیتی، در شهر بفرمایید.
And now I feel frustrated in the airplane. I don't feel happy. I don't know what the heck I'm getting into. I don't know the outcome of it. Trying to figure out, well, from here, Rafael takes Swiss Air to that. I might have to go Swiss Air and go to the American Embassy, see what they can do. And my mind is reeling like a million miles a minute. And I am not an angry person, man, but my God, I was fuming right in that airplane. And I have to keep my mouth shut for all about not to know anything about this.
وقتی که تو هواپیما با آلوبا بودم، من همش فکر میکردم، مثلا فکرم همه جا بود که حالا بس برم امبسی سوئیس، برم دنبال ویزا برای آلوبا دوباره، صف ببندم، نوبت ببندم، چی کار کنم و همه این کارا رو تو ذهنم بود، ولی دهنم بسته بود. حتی هیچ چیزی راجع به این موضوع به آلوبا نگفتم.
And Alaba notices that I am not being kind and friendly and attentive and all of that. And so he knows that. And he asks me, and he says, Alaba, I don't want to tell you what's transpiring, but I'm not very happy at the present, you know? Mm-hmm. Something happened, but I can't tell you about it. So I have my arm here in the seat, and Oliver has his arm in the seats, and then he takes my arm like this, my hand, and he twisted it like that. Oh. And when he twisted it, the truth of Mayor Baba's name, all that stuff vanished away.
At the same time?
At the same time.
من تو هواپیما که بودم بغل آلوبا نشسته بودم و فکرم خب گرفتار بود، اصلا خیلی ناراحت بودم. آلوبا متوجه شد، گفتش که چی شده توری گریز؟ چرا اینقدر تو خودتی، تو فکر هستی، چی شده؟ و ایشون میگه که راستش یه مسئله منو خیلی ناراحت کرده، ولی من الان موقعش نیستش که اینو در میون بذارم. و آلوبا همینطور که اینوش میشنوه مچ دستشو میگیره و اونو میچرخونه و در اون لحظه ایشون حس میکنه که با چرخوندن مچ دستش همه مسئله ویزای آلوبا و دبل انتریش تموم میشه.
Then what transpired, we arrived in Mexico City. And there's Rafael with Lourdes and Arsenio and his wife. I'm trying to think of her name. Anyhow, she's a lovely Puerto Rican lady.
Yes, of course.
And I said, Rafael, I have to talk to you. I says, I have a problem. And I don't have a solution to it. So let's go and talk in private. After we had the lunch, the dinner, or whatever transpired, you know, Rafael was overwhelmingly rich. I mean, oh, not a millionaire, not a billionaire, but a trillionaire. And nobody knows that. But he is
You don't
the,
want to mention that.
but he's the kindest person that I've ever met in my life. The kindest, the most
Nice.
generous, and he's what I consider a real Bible lover. He owns a set of nightclubs, which I have to take you through all of them, with all of them.
Oh, wow. Fabulous. Okay.
See, the story is just beginning.
Yes.
Then what happens, he says, Tony, there's only one thing that you can do. Go to the American consulate and I'll go with you and we'll explain to the American consulate what transpired. So we went there and I says, but without Oliver.
Oh, without Oliver.
She's not to know anything,
Oh, he doesn't know.
nothing.
Because was it an order from Mani, or you
No.
just felt that? Or
No, I
what was
decided not to tell Oliver
about this kind of confusions.
because it was a fact. And how am I going to tell Oliver? And in the meantime, I got to write money letter and tell her that everything is going perfect.
Oh, yes, yes. So I can explain. So when he goes there to Mexico, he talks to, of course, there were other Baba lovers.
Rafael Lonely.
You're not
Oh,
speaking.
فارسی. وقتی که ایشون میرن به مکزیکو، بابا دوستای دیگه بودن و آقای رافائل اونجا بودن و ایشون این مسئله ویزای و برگشت آلوبا رو با رافائل در میون میذارن و ایشون آقای رافائل میگن که پس تونی من و تو میریم به امبسی و با هم و آلوبا رو نمیبریم با خودمون و فقط سعی میکنیم که رینتری ازش بگیریم و ایشون هم قبول میکنیم.
And then we inform Arsenio.
و ما همچنین به آقای آرسنیو هم خبر دادیم
To come to the embassy with us.
که با ما به امبسی American Embassy
Yes, American.
امبسی آمریکا بیاد.
And I'm very hopeful because Lourdes Villafane was the granddaughter of the president of Mexico.
And who was she, Lourdes?
Lourdes Villafane, well, Rafael Villafane Lourdes.
Okay.
She was the granddaughter of the president of Mexico.
Okay, and Miss Lourdes was Rafael's
Wife.
Okay. کانکشنی که اینجا وجود داشته اینه که آقای رافائل خانومشون لوردس نوه رئیس جمهور مکزیکو بودن.
So Rafael and Arsenio go with me and we request to see the head of the American consulate because we don't want to go through the red tape
No,
because it would take forever.
forever.
And we explain them the situation. And Rafael tells him that he's affiliated with the highest class of Mexico, that he's familiar with the president of Mexico, and this and that, and that Arsenio Rodriguez is the representative for the United Nations in Mexico. And the guy gets furious, and he says, I don't care if you're the president of Mexico. You broke the American rule, and I have not let this passport go through.
Oh my goodness.
And he
wow.
tells Arsenio, you go back to the United Nations and stay where you belong. You got nothing to do with the American embassy.
Wow. در سفارت آمریکا آقای آرسنیو که در یونایتد نیشن یا سازمان ملل کار میکردن با آقای رافائل و ایشون میرن و درخواست میکنن که با رئیس سفارت آمریکا صحبت کنن، چون وقت نداشتن که تو صف بمونن یا نوبت بگیرن. اینه که وقتی این آقا این ستا رو میبینه میگه که هر کسی میخواید باشید. به آقای رافائل میگه تو اگر میخوای ریاست رئیس جمهور مکزیکوم باشی. آقای آرسینو میگه که شما برگرد برو تو همون سازمان ملل کار بکن و من هیچ قانونه و من نمیتونم هیچ چیزی رو عوض بکنم و اصلا این پاسپورت رو بردارید برید. و یه حالت عصبانی پاسپورت طرفش رو میندازه و کاری باشون نداشته.
So anyhow, we got the response. And I'm in a humongous amount of stress. And I cannot show it in front of Alaba, and I cannot see Alaba. Because I have to go to talk to this person on a daily basis. So I try to get all the information that I can on Alaba to try to convince him that this person was on a spiritual journey in Mexico City and he should be allowed to go back to the country. There was a little booklet written by somebody, I remember the name of the booklet, is from something about Mayor Baba, but a whole book. And I find a Globe magazine where it shows like some articles about Mayor Baba, and Rafael has got some books that explain that Alaba is one of the Premasran boys and the Subzontrals and this and that, So I got the ammunition, maybe I got it. And I go back to the consulate and I tell Rafael, when I come back, you have a bottle of whiskey or cognac for me. A bunch of friggin' cigarettes because I will not be able to sleep tonight. And put it.
Is that the same day or another day?
Right after that.
Oh, right after that.
Right after when we saw the embassy.
So you saw the guy and he says no.
And absolutely.
Okay. But then you wanted to go back, but this time with Baba's books. And Baba's
That's
books.
another day.
Oh,
but have you said what transpired the first day?
Yes.
In Farsi?
Yes.
So this is the next day.
Next day.
How am I going to explain my absence to Alaba? Well, I'm going to tell him I have some family in Mexico and I'm going to be visiting. I've been traveling with you and I'm going to visit Alaba. And I'm being firm with Alaba. And don't do any friggin' thing that is mischievous anymore. Don't roll on the ground and do this and that and the other one. You start now listening to me, or I leave you here in Mexico by yourself and let Rafael take care of you. Because I am fed up to the tilt.
این اتفاق که میفته ایشون خیلی دوباره نروس میشن، ناراحت میشن و میگن که خب هنوز نمیبست به آلوبا این موضوع رو میگفتن، نمیخواستن آلوبا رو ناراحت بکنن، ولی رفتن به آلوبا گفتن آلوبا من اینجا اومدم، حالا چند تا دوست و آشنا و فامیل دارم در مکزیکو و میخوام ایشون رو ببینم و حالا شما رو میدم دست رافائل و از اینجا به بعد رافائل باشه، چون من خیلی زیر استرس بودم و در عین حال میخواستم که راه و چاه پیدا کنم که چریخته دوباره برم و این دبل اینتری رو برای آلوبا درست کنم.
You need to sum it up because there's another group that's coming soon.
What time is it now?
It's almost 2. 2 minutes till 2.
Okay, so,
Okay.
yeah, go
I
ahead.
told you this thing is gonna go on 2 or 3 sessions.
Yes.
But now off
That's
the
fine.
phones,
Yeah.
don't get off the microphone. It's so fantastic what transpires after, and the
Go
miracle.
ahead and continue. We are being recorded, so go ahead and continue with what
Yeah.
happened after that.
There's another group. We'll continue on next session.
Yeah, because I want to listen what's.
Yeah, well, it's a good story.
Yeah, it's
But
a
I
good
am
story.
worried because the car players will be
See-
coming in
see,
10 minutes.
Yeah, 2:30, Al Grasson is, we need another session. Just give me a
Yes.
ride home and we'll call it quits.
But-
And then I can tell you what happened in the
Okay.
car.
It's good to stop where it's interesting. Then
Okay,
people want
yes.
they
Hey,
want
man,
to.
Well, thank you very
This
much.
journey has not even begun.
There you go.
Uh,
Okay.
Best is to come.
Part 1.
So that was part 1, Tony Grease,
And
and
there might be a part 3.
about Aloba's visit to America in 1986, and we're gonna continue that in 2 weeks. So
No,
please-
next week.
next week? Okay, we're gonna continue next Friday. So enjoy. پس هفته دیگه میبینمتون. جی مهربان.
And it gets better and better. Tell him that.
و بهتر و
Oh.
بهتر میشه داستان. همیشه داستان ها بهتر و
And let's say
بهتر
a
میشه.
prayer to Bob. I forgot that.
Okay.
I always end the meetings with a prayer. I'll say it.
Okay.
I say, most beautiful, beloved Meher Baba, Lord of the universe, King of kings, my heart, my mind belongs to you. And thank you for giving me such a wonderful memory that I recall these events as if they were happening today. I haven't blown up one time with Elizabeth Patterson, but other than that, I'll try not to, and help me to continue with my work. Especially when I arrive in India, I'm already called to go to these places, comfort number 1. And God knows where else, So please help me with all of that. And I want to praise you and tell you that I love you, that I adore you, that I worship your feet. Everything is real except you, Baba. Unreal. You are the only reality. And we as Baba lovers, the groups all over the place that heard this beautiful, to me it's a wonderful really talk, the first time I talked in America. I hope I give them some joy for them to have, to treasure and enjoy. Most of all, for all the Iranis and all the people that go to the Korshan Wadis.
Thank you.
Jai
Jai
Meher
Meher
Baba.
Baba. Avatar Meher
Meher
Baba
Baba
ki jai.